Hey everybody, so I assume you've got a Husky pack out if you're watching this video. Pack out, build out, whatever. It's the same thing. It's a budget modular toolbox solution, which I have bought recently for work because the pack out price tag, it was hard to justify. So here it is, the Husky Buildout. I've been liking it so far. It's had one really big drawback, and that is the dolly, because I'm not going to carry these all in by hand. I'm going to get a little dolly, right? That works just fine. So this is the dolly. This is with its 4 wheels on. Every wheel is a swivel on the dolly. Let me get my microphone. Anyways, we're back. Where I left off, I was just talking about the dolly wheels. The dolly's pretty decent. Like, it really helps, obviously, when you're moving around the job site. You can move your entire stack at once. Like, it's pretty obvious why a dolly is useful. I don't have to get too into it. But the biggest problem with this dolly is, like, the wheels are pretty small. I can't even get over an extension cord without having to lift up the one end. While the other guys at work got bigger wheels, they could just roll right over any obstacle that gets in the way. And it kind of defeats the purpose of the dolly when I need to wheel it over small gaps and extension cords and stuff that's laying around the floor. You know, like, what's the point of the dolly then? I may as well just carry everything, like, because you're never going to have perfect clear floor at work anyways. So the second problem, and probably the biggest one, because as I mentioned, you have to lift up the dolly to get it past things. Just check out how well the wheels stay in, right? These are all the wheels in right now. They just don't stay in, right? They just don't stay in. So then I don't understand why I'm even using the dolly when only 2 wheels stay in. Every time I need to lift it up, you know, because every time I gotta lift it up, there's a risk. I'm risking the chance of these wheels slipping out and falling, and then I gotta friggin', lift up the cart on one end and try and jam the wheel back in, when all the tools are on it. And then, like, it won't go in, and I'm holding people up in the middle of the hallway or an elevator or whatever. So I figured, you know what? That's it. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to build myself my own dolly that's actually going to be useful and hold all my tools and not have the wheels pop off constantly when I'm working. Here's a solution I came up with. Packout has, like, the plate you could buy, right? It's like a mounting plate you could attach to the wall or, like any surface, and you could mount the Packout box into it. Husky doesn't have that. But here's the cool thing. Their dolly base makes a perfect mounting plate when you take these goddamn wheels off. You don't even have to take the wheels off. They'll just fall off anyways. But you could use this as a mounting plate. So I figured, why not go get myself a small piece of plywood, or just some scrap plywood, because I'm sure a lot of woodworkers and carpenters would just have stuff like this laying around. Place her on like this, and my plan is to essentially cut this piece of plywood in half. This is a 3/4 thick plywood. Cut this piece of plywood in half, join both the pieces together, so it's basically 1.5 inch thick material, which is probably overkill, but it'll hold a lot of weight, and I can modify it in the future. And then I went to Princess Auto, and I bought myself some casters, some 5-inch casters. They're about $20 each on sale. I got 2 non-swiveling and then 2 swiveling with brakes on them. That way I could steer the cart better. And when I'm going down hills, it doesn't tend to want to go one direction or the other. I could just steer to the one end, just like a vehicle. So that's my plan. I could add a good 2 to 3 inches per side if I just make the base a little bit bigger. It's never going to tip over, I suppose, like this way, but it could definitely tip over this way or this way otherwise. So I'm going to make it a little bit wider and join them up and then slap this on. And before you know it, you're going to have a dolly that has got, essentially homemade outriggers, and you're never going to put enough weight on it. I don't even need to make it 1.5 inches if we're being honest here, but just having a little bit extra is always going to help. But you're going to have a dolly that's going to last you a while, and anytime the wood wears out after a couple of years, you can just replace it. If you're a carpenter, you should be able to know how to do that. So that's what I'm gonna do. And I'll see you guys when the product is finished. Another thing I want to bring up is I couldn't find anything online to do something like this. No one else has done anything like this, at least hasn't documented it. And they do make mounting plates, but not Husky brand. You have to get them on Etsy, and they're like $100 per mounting plate. The Dolly was about $40 from Home Depot. And if I'm just going to use the base of that as a mounting plate, then I don't see why you would go and buy one on Etsy. Like, yeah, it's 3D printed and whatever, but I just don't really, I just don't really see the reason to do that. Actually, all right, it's fine by me. So it doesn't have, and I'm just going to freehand the cut. Feet. Whoever cut it choofed it because it's about 1/8 of an inch short, but doesn't really matter. I am to make up that difference. I'm going to cut on this side of the line, or sorry, I'm going to try and cut this line dead nuts in the middle, and that should get it within a 1/16. And again, even then, I'm not really stressing at all. So set your blade to the right depth. No need to have it sticking out a crazy amount. I might just have it go just slightly under the thickness of material and a little bit past. And if I'm smart here, I'm gonna get myself sacrificial pieces of wood. We'll just make it cutting it even easier. All right, like hell, and I'm just glad the nail's still there. Anyways, back to the video. You would think to put it in like this, where the wood is, the line's here, but if you cut that as the saw is getting all the way through the cut, the board is going to do this essentially, and these ends here are going to touch, and then they're going to bind, and your saw could possibly kick back. So put this where the line is, and now when you cut it, it'll just break over that, and instead of breaking like this where they'll bind into each other, it'll break like this and come apart. And you know what, looking at it, it's really not bad, but you could definitely see a little bit of wave. You know, just look there. You could see wave, like it's pretty straight, but it definitely waves a little bit. Nothing perfect, but it's okay because remember, I'm lazy, and we're only making a little handmade dolly to fix our problems. So now my plan is to take ugly side to clean side, match it to the other ugly side, and I will match the factory edges together so that I could put the, so what I'm trying to get at, sorry, is this way I'm hiding the ugly sides. I am keeping the nicer looking sides together, or the nicer looking sides visible. And if I match the cut side to the cut side, I can match the factory edges to each other. And that way I could get a better gauge on my material and getting it square, because the cut sides or the factory sides don't lie, because those are straight and square, at least they're supposed to be. I'm gonna take this 1.25" screws, 2 clamps where I want it, which is essentially having a corner flush on all ends and a little bit of overhang on the rest. Clamp together. All I'm gonna do now is just screw it together. I was planning on using 3-inch screws with doubling up these mini washers, because I don't have any washers like the big washers that have tiny screw holes. This is what I got, so this is what I'm gonna use. And I'm pretty sure if I hold this here when it goes down all the way, it'll just dig into the both of them. So this way it hopefully won't go too deep, but it'll go deep enough where it'll still have a good hold. I find it unlikely that it's going to break anything. Measurement from end to end. Doing everything in millimeters recently was a little bit difficult in my opinion, because I've been using inches for so long. So in this case, I'll just go 17 and a half. 23 and 13/16. So let's go 23 plus 7/8 minus 17.5. You get 6.375. Divide that by 2. 3 and 3/16, right? Reference it and get it square here, and boom. And I do recognize I should probably was something that had to be a little more precise than be a different story. As you could kind of see, I've got it essentially situated where I want it. The last thing I got to do is just eyeball the difference between both these edges, because it's not quite 2 feet. It's almost 2 feet, but it's a little under. So now the next thing is, what I would like to do personally is they have a lot of ribs just throughout, right, in different areas. What I would like to do is have my screws land through these holes, but I'm thinking to myself, well, that's gonna be a little bit difficult if I try to land through this hole, if I try to go through here or whatever. I'll pick a point where I want my screw to land, because it's just in this general area where I want to screw it, because it's underneath and it's probably not going to get in the way. I'm simply going to just take a screw, right? I'm going to screw through from this bottom side close to the middle of this opening. And then that's going to be my reference marker. From the middle there, I land right there in the middle of where the old wheels used to go. So I'm going to screw them in. I'm going to do that on all 4 corners. And now I got my mark where I'm going to drive my screw and my washers down. The screw has a lot of room to wiggle around here. So let's get lined up. Let us split our differences here. So about there. I'm going to drive this screw down. These could get swapped out for bolts in the future, and bolts will be a lot better naturally. Because again, you never know if it's really going to work or not. Like, these screws could break, although they shouldn't. All that's left is to put the wheels on. Let's flip this around. Okay, so let's go with these then. These got a fat head on them. The ones I was looking at originally, they got a fat head. They're a self-tapper, so they should drive into the wood relatively well. They're pretty thick, so I imagine it'll be a good application for wheels, as these wheels are going to take a good amount of weight and just random lateral forces as you're wheeling it around and lifting it up. They're going to take some weight, right? So this is how we're going to do it. Just curious. So yeah, I got the bit, put her in my gun. So I'm kind of driving them at an angle. Okay, moment of truth, eh? All right, everybody. Definitely a lot heavier than when it was just this, but right. Roll my tools around. Absolutely no problem at all. Let's give it a little test out here. Take these brakes off of the wheels. Slide them around. The big thing is trying to tip it over. Still can, but it's not as bad as it was. Easier to steer. And if you leave this top thing open, I don't think you're gonna. Yeah, before it felt like it might even want to fall, but it feels perfectly fine now. So there you have it. When I'm wheeling it around, I can do this, get over wires easy. The wheels are never gonna fall off. It is, I mean, in other words, it's perfect. There you have it, guys. That is a pretty, very budget friendly solution. Casters normally cost a lot, but at Princess Auto, I got the 4 of them for about 80 bucks in total. 80 bucks for the casters. The plywood sheet, if you got it laying at home, it's free. If you can get some scrap pieces from work, it's free. I didn't have anything, unfortunately, and I didn't want to wait until the working week to grab something. So I just picked up a sheet for about 30 bucks and repurposed it, I suppose, into this. So for a grand total of 110 bucks, you could do the same as long as you got the same system. Again, no one's made a video on this online, so there you have it. It's not the most bougie. I need to grind off those little extra stumps that I had left, but otherwise, it's really good. Nothing you should probably do yourself a favor, get yourself a hole in there that you could, because I leave this at work. I use one of these cables. Get yourself a hole at the bottom of here, and you could actually lock your stuff up. That way you could run the cable through the hole and up and over, and you could lock it up all together. There you have it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Any of you guys got a Husky Buildout? This is, again, it's a great little modification. I just thought I've been thinking about it for a week on how I want to do it. I was thinking about removing one of the lids off of my other boxes, using the lid as a mounting plate. But then I figured I could take the damn wheels off of the, being honest here, off of the crappy dolly it came with, and then just use the actual dolly as a mounting plate. And as you can see, it works just fine. Thank you guys for watching. Hope this helps you. And in the future, you could modify this. You could widen it out. If you don't want to be as tall, you could make this wider, have your wheels on the ends, doubled up, it'll be perfectly strong. And it's used 2 mounting plates side by side, then boom, there you go. You just click them up, and you can get fancy. You can put a tabletop on there and just screw up into the tabletop from the bottom of the lids. And next thing you know, you got a rolling table with a little rolling cart with modular toolboxes that you can just take apart very, very easily. So hope you enjoyed, and take care.